What I want to try and get just across here is this is not exercise, right? This is just your movement practice. It's a daily non-negotiable. Because the reality with most people, and it kind of relates to everything, is it's just all about the consistency and what you're trying to create here. And what I'll always say to people is we want this to be as important as brushing your teeth, right? Because when you prioritize something like that, you're less likely to forget to do it. You're less likely not going to not do it. So at the end of this, the goal here is that you kind of have a bit of clarity around why I should look at maybe training in a different way. So we're not referencing like a handstand. We're not referencing deadlifts or going into the gym and sweating. That's not what I'm trying to get across here. I'm trying to get across that you are a human being. You are lazy or efficient, whichever way you want to look at it. So if we look at it from positive, you are efficient in the sense that if you don't use an area of your body says, well, I'm not replenishing the cells for there. So because we don't do it. So if you don't put your hand up over the head, guess what? You're going to get really shit at putting your hand up over your head. So what we're trying to, I guess, tell you is in today's society, you are not in an optimal position for 80, 90% of the day. So what we're trying to do is to say, okay, well, for the times, maybe it's when you get up out of like you wake up in the morning. For a lot of us, we don't actually feel great trying to take that first step. So it's like, okay, cool. Well, what can I do to make this a little bit more efficient just to set me up for the day? And then the next stage, or what we want to try and do, is actually understand as like, hey, I've been at the desk for 4 hours, or I've been at the desk for 2 hours, or whatever it is. Is there something that I know that I could go and do right now, which is very like, I don't have to get changed. I don't have to drive anywhere to do it. I just need to do it so that I can get a little bit of a reset and I can get back into being productive in the thing that I want to do. That just then, like, it's like this domino effect. It's like, okay, cool. I actually felt good after just doing that thing for 5 minutes. Whoa. Okay, cool. Will I get to the gym eventually? Maybe. But the thing is if I'm thinking I have to be in the gym and I don't like the gym and it's too loud music and everybody in there is so pretty and they're so skinny and I just don't enjoy it, guess what? You're not going to go. So why don't we think about, well, let's change the association that we have. So that's why whenever I talk to somebody, I don't talk about exercise. It's a movement practice, because if you plan on moving throughout your day, you might as well be good at it. So what we want to try and do, or at least what I just want to give you a quick little glimpse about, and then I can give you all the resources literally for free that you can go and fall down rabbit holes. Like I said to you yesterday, I'm happy to give you guys what we call our 28-day reset, which is like a video series, because you have one every day and then there's one day that you don't have to do it. And the idea is you literally can see how long it's going to take, 22 minutes, 25 minutes. You know that you're going to click play. You know there's going to be rests involved within that, but that is your block and you can do it from home. So it's kind of like, as I say, it's to ditch your excuses. And the idea behind that is it's just about consistency. Are you going to enter the Olympics by doing it? Probably not. But what are we going to do is maybe if we can get out of pain, or we get solutions to when we are in pain, right? Because even Superman had kryptonite, right? So I'm not going to say that you're going to be bulletproof. It's not reality. But what I am trying to say is your oh shit moments become oh damn moments. I still get injured. But what I do is I know that if it's something like what we did last night, it took me 2 minutes to make sure, because you gave me the variables that I had to work with. Then we manhandled you and gave you a good stretch. But the idea is it's like, now what you think, if it happens again, you go, okay, cool. I need to try and replicate a similar position, and I try and let that pain subside. That's reality, right? So what I want to always instill is this: if you ever have a pain in the body, or if something feels uncomfortable, I will always look to the opposing side as your main priority. So I'll give you an example. Let's say, for example, your glute is really, really sore. Well, I would generally look and see what's happening the other side, right? Are your quads too tight? Are your hip flexors too weak? Is there an imbalance in your core? Always by looking at the other side, I'll make sense of it very quickly. If we look at a seesaw, the best way to balance is have the same weight one side, the same weight the other side. So if we're always relying on our quads to do the work and our glute has got very lazy because we sit on our ass all day, well, guess what? This is going to get tired because it's trying to do the work of two people. So when we find the balance, guess what? We hold on to less of that tension. And the key to movement is tension, but it's understanding when I can have too much tension and when I can release tension. So having tension is great. Guess what? Holly likes to power lift. What does she need to lift a shitload of weight? A lot of tension. But if she walks around her whole day with all that tension, she's going to waste all her energy. She's going to be stressed, and it's not good. So what happens with a lot of people is they go, had a long day at work. I'm so stressed. I need to go to the gym and release that stress. But ironically, they go and they smash their body. They increase the stress levels. And long term, it's like having a Ferrari and just driving as fast as you can every single time you get in it. The engine's going to burn out. So all I want to do now is literally just go through just a little bit of a movement practice so you can be more aware of why you're doing it, which is why I just told you what I told you. And then it's kind of like, that wasn't too hard. And I could do that every day. And the only exception to the rule here is going to be everybody has baggage, right? So I want to hear your excuses, because the only way that you're going to continue this is by accepting the excuses and then finding your way of getting past them. So it's okay to have excuses. Everybody, I have excuses. If someone asks me to do something, I will find an excuse as to why I can't do it. And then I'll realize that it's not an excuse and I could probably try my version of it. So I'll give you an example. If I said, okay, like, let's say someone has back pain and I say, I want you to, do this movement. No, that gives me pain. Okay, cool. Let's find a variation of that movement that you can do, because if you avoid it, life's going to put you in that position at some stage. And that's when the oh shit moment happens. Does that make sense? So all I want you to think about is this. We have joints in our body. If we don't put them through movement, they won't want to go through movement. So if I want to put my shoulder through movement and I don't do this, well, at some stage, life is going to make me do something. And then now I have a pain from it. And now I'm totally going to avoid it. And then it's that bad spiral of, why is everything getting worse? So it's taking the baby steps to go back. But we have to appreciate that someone might be doing this with a weight. Someone might even be able to put the hand up over the head. So they're doing something different. But we understand the stepping stones of what it's going to do. And that's the beauty of movement, because I can visually see where I want to get to. Right? So all I want you to do is this. I'm literally only going to focus on the priorities here. Priority for me is your hips, your shoulders, and your spine. Right? And the reason I say that, if you've got an elbow injury, a wrist injury, it's probably coming from your shoulder. That's a broad statement, but based on my experience, you're probably putting too much load on it when you pick something up, but it's because the shoulder's not actually doing what it needs to do. So what I always find is when we look at the small intrinsic muscles and we look at what the function of that joint is, and we put it through that motion and we get good at it, then naturally everything else kind of comes along for the ride, okay? Because we're dealing with priority here. If you're someone who spends 2 hours in the gym, this is not for you. If you're someone who doesn't do any form of movement throughout your week, this is for you, okay? So very simply, ball socket joints, shoulders and hips. So it's good to put them through rotation. Most people don't, because we just have never thought about it before. And the spine, the only exception is segmentation, right? Mainly because if you want to rotate your spine and the joints don't segment, they're probably a little bit stuck together or whatever. They're only going to move through a weak point, okay? So the best way to think about that is, let's say my lower back is tight and 3 of the vertebrae are quite compressed together. Well, the only place that they're going to move is in the weakest points, which is generally the top or the bottom, because that is the area that movements, that will move. So my advice is, if we can get little bits of movement in there, the rotation is only going to get better anyway, because now we've created more space, okay? So all we're going to do is 3 exercises. And the reason why we're only doing 3 exercises, does anybody know why?
Hip, shoulders, back.
No, but do we know why? Because we keep it stupid simple, right? If I can give you 3 exercises, you have less excuses not to do them. And then when you do them, then you get more hungrier to do more. And then it's better for your brain, because if we keep it always as a positive outcome, you're more likely to want to do it. So the first thing we do is ball socket joint in the shoulder. This is it. Now, there is going to be variations. That was close. There is going to be variations where you potentially mightn't feel comfortable putting your arm up over your head. So then we think of, what do we want to do? You just even getting comfortable moving the shoulder eventually. So this is the easiest because there's less weight. This is more challenging because now I'm putting more weight on it. This is obviously requiring everything to kind of stabilize the shoulder. So rather than having excuses, I can't do that. Cool. Let's find what you can do, right? In terms of the hips, there's 2 variations. One is on all 4s. The other is standing. I think just for time, we're going to do standing. Shitty reps are better than no reps. So usually what I'd say is just focus on what you're being asked to do. I'll show you what I want you to do for hips. We bring it up. We bring it out.
We also stand.
I just want to show you first, because otherwise there's going to be one person who wants to do it. And then we go and reverse. That's it. Okay? For the spine, you do it either sitting or standing. Okay? Standing just means that we have to require the hamstrings and the glutes to do a little bit more, but I want to minimize your excuses, so you can do it seated if you like. But all you would do is think of segmentation. So segmentation, the best image that I always have is if you ever had a hamster as a kid or a mouse, if they walk into a tunnel, they can do this and they can go back out the way they came, right? So they can literally bend their spine. Think of like a chain on a bike. They can make it just segment, segment, segment and come back the way they came. So for us, what it looks like with me rounding my back, rounding my back, rounding my back. So I'm really rounding it as best I can and then coming down as low as feels comfortable. Okay, then I reverse and I come all the way back up. Now, there's always caveats, right? The best way you can think, anybody ever been to a yoga class and they give you props? They do that for support, right? So what I would always say is if you're a bit nervous, now I have support. Or now the wall's there, I feel protected, I don't feel like I'm gonna fall over, anything like that. If it's intense on the hamstrings, guess what? Bend the knees. All I'm trying to do is minimize your excuses here, right? Same thing, we just segment down. I've got tactile feedback because I can feel my spine against the wall. And I just come all the way down. Okay, that's it for me. Sweet, come back up. On the next rep, be disappointed. I want to go a little bit lower. Okay? I want to come back up. Okay, if you're doing it seated, very similar. Let the weight of your hands be your friend. So you'd sit kind of close to the edge. Hands are just here. Again, I feel supported by my legs. I just segment. And then I come back up. It's that simple because all you're trying to do, number one, is let your blood just pass around your body, right? Which is going to help your lymphatic system. It's just going to help you feel a little bit better. And number two, then, is you are just making the muscles do what they kind of need to do. So the worst thing is if I sit like this and I walk to the car and then I drive home and I sit and watch TV, my spine has not gone through any form of motion. And then what happens is someone says, you know, Dad, yeah, oh, fuck. Because I've done a movement that I'm not prepared for. And then all of a sudden that little tweak happens. Might only be a little tweak, but now it's there. And then I go back to sitting and doing the thing and doing the thing. And so that tweak is always there, right? While as the body, if you just put it through its motion, then it realizes, oh, I don't have to hold on to that tension anymore. We're actually okay, we're safe. So that's why we do these consistent things, right? So everybody stand up for a second. And this will only take, do you want to stand there, but just more for where the camera is. So all I want you to do first off is only work on the tipping point of comfort, okay? So everybody has different pain scales, right? I have a high pain threshold, so sometimes I struggle with this. So for me, I'm always like, you know, more than a 5 out of 10? Nah, we don't need it. Because if you're gonna put yourself in that position, you're not gonna do it very often. Flip side, there's a difference between pain and discomfort. If you really don't like this exercise just because it's uncomfortable, suck it up, baby, okay? If it's sore, don't be there, right? So what I mean by discomfort, maybe you get hot flushes, maybe it feels really intense. That's not pain, right? Pain is like, I've got a flame here and I just put it on your finger is gonna move very quickly out of there, okay? So if you can't bring your arm up overhead, like what I said, the continuum is anywhere along here, okay? Right? So it might, for someone, just be a shrug because we're just educating that shoulder to move. All I want you to do is this. I just want you to do 5 rotations one direction, 5 rotations the opposite direction. Hang on a second. Simon didn't say go. So the reason why is because now we can be stricter, right? Shitty reps are better than no reps to start. But what I want you to watch for is this, right? This is me externally rotating. Don't be that person. This is me externally rotating the top of my arm in my shoulder. So I'm already getting rotation. Don't be that person. Just watch the first rep. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring it up as high as I can until I can't go anymore. Now I'm going to go from external rotation to internal rotation. So I'm rotating as much as I can. Now my pinky's facing forward. Then I reverse. So now you'll notice that I'm actually rotating my arm in my shoulder. That's the goal, okay? That's the goal. So if you get here and you realize, oh, that's a bit sore, let's work around it. Okay, maybe this is my circle for today. That make sense? Right, let's go for our first shitty rep, okay? So palm facing out, bring it up, high as you can go. As soon as you feel like that, yeah, can't go anymore, rotate, like you're twisting a rag from your shoulder, okay? And then just reverse. We'll just do 3 of those on that side, and then I want you to go to the side that you don't like, because that's why you avoided it. Unless you're like Fiona and went straight in. That's what I like. Most people will use their good side first, just out of habit, unless they're tactical. And then just swap over to the side once you've done 3, okay? So just be mindful, left and right are not the same, always different. What I would say is this, don't try to impress me by the range of motion by moving anything else. So this was your rep, watch this. Because you wanted to make the biggest circle you could make. Whereas it's better for you to go, okay, well, I can't go anymore, this is where I'm at. You could obviously be better, but like, just so you're aware. So usually what I would do is if I was training someone, one is I might manhandle them and actually keep them there. The only thing they can move is the shoulder. The other is I'll block them. So now I'll say, you can't move. Because you're more aware of it now because the wall is stopping me from leaning forward or leaning out, okay? All right, so now we're on to hips. The one thing I would say is don't let balance be the problem. So hold on to something if you want, okay? With this one, what I want to try and minimize is anything else coming along for the ride, like what we just highlighted there, right? Because what happens is someone goes, no, I need to do a big circle. I want to make this look really cool. But I didn't rotate the top of my leg there at all. I just did this weird kind of, I don't even know, capoeira, something like that, right? So all I want you to do is everybody bring it up as high as you can. Don't let balance be the block. Everything should stay facing forward. So belly button stays in the same position. I'm trying to use my butt to pull my knee out. Once I can't go anymore, I think of that rag. So heels coming up to the ceiling as I bring my knees towards each other. Might get a bit crampy a little bit. And then we reverse. So I come back out, all the way back up, all the way over, and then bring it down. Just tip it off the floor and repeat. Okay? And I just want you to do 3 of those as well. You might hear little pops and clicks and all the things. Generally, what happens with a lot of people, it's a tug of war. You guys keep going for the last rep while I explain. So when we think about this, as we said earlier around, if your quad's so used to doing everything, it's like being in a relationship that you do everything and this person isn't willing to do what they potentially should. And then all of a sudden we find this nice relationship. So when it's the time is the handover. So usually when we get to a certain point, it's the handover and then there's a pop because it's like, oh, this one's got to let go. This one's got to do what it's, because they're not in unison yet. So the more we do this rotation, it's more of a global movement. Do the other side, guys. Then it starts to work a lot more efficiently, right? Now, no pain, no gain doesn't work in this style. So discomfort, we suck it up. But pain, we get the hell out of dodge, okay? Or we avoid it. So you might get to a certain point, it gets pinchy. Okay, just try and go around the pinch and then continue that movement. Just do 3 over and back. And then we're going to move into our spine. So you can either do it seated, you can do it with your butt against the wall to feel supported, or you can do it out. It's not a sense of level of difficulty in a way. It's more that if you can't feel your spine segmenting, you change the variation so that you can, because that's the priority. Because we're so ingrained in our system that I want to try the hardest. But actually, let's do the most effective. Okay? There's time to make it more challenging when you're doing the intent. So we do want to see as much rounding. So for me, what I think about here is if everybody just squats down for a second, like this. Now, if you want to make this really awkward, we're going to make loads of eye contact, okay? Because the next thing you're going to do is you're going to tuck your butt like this. I give the analogy as if you're trying to hide a credit card in your butt cheeks. You'd really want to lock your pelvis in to hold the credit card. And then you don't want to change that position. You just want to stand back up. And you should feel like your glutes are engaged, or you should feel tightness there. So if someone ever tells you that your glutes are not engaging, it's just because of your hip position. It's not a lack of strength. Because I think everybody can feel their glutes engaging right now, okay? So if you do any kind of deadlift or hip thrusts, this is what you should be feeling at the top, right? So for many, it's just a lock. It's locking in the pelvis rather than trying to squeeze our butt, okay? So the goal here is going to try and keep that for as long as possible. I'm going to show you when it changes, right? I'll just step here so you can see me. So when I get to this point, this is as much, wait, hang on. That's as much movement I have in my spine, okay? Everything else is me just letting my hip go. So watch, you ready? This is me just letting my hip roll back out behind me. Then this is me tucking my butt, and this is the segmentation coming back. So the reason why I want to highlight that is because if I'm focusing on my spine,
it is okay if I bend my knees because I'm just trying to get as much movement from my spine. Okay? So lock your pelvis in. Let your feet or let your legs be a bit of a roadmap and just kind of trickle down. Try and round your back as best you can. If you have any lower back tension, this can be challenging. That's usually why I would say go and put your butt against the wall and see did that help. Other things that you might do when you're at home is put a pillow in between your legs or like a yoga block. The more support your body feels, naturally it's going to give you more access to what you're trying to get. Okay? So don't be afraid to put your bum against the wall. Even out of curiosity, if you haven't done it, go and put your bum against the wall, see was that easier or more effective, as I like to call it. And then you know, okay, sweet. This particular exercise, if you had to choose one exercise in the whole world that you could do when you're sitting at a desk for an extended period of time, is this. Because it's so global, it frees up everything in terms of all those nerves that travel through our lower back. For someone like yourself, the biggest thing that you need to watch for when you're going down is, am I leaning too much to one side? So am I trying to avoid the area of tightness, okay? So when you're down the bottom, what you can do is you can start to actually trickle your hands across to one side and then like a half moon, walk it all the way across to the other side. So feel just that lower back letting go, okay? And the reason why we want to be comfortable is because if you fully let go in this position, it can actually be very challenging to come back up. So if you're stuck in that bottom position, you slide your bum down the wall and bend your knees, and that'll allow that tension to subside, and then you can come back to a standing position, okay?
I just stand on my feet and walk 8 hours a day.
Yeah.
And then I start to feel this tightening here. So is it a matter of tilting the pelvis, sort of softening the knees?
Just based on me observing you over the last, that sounds weird, but anyway. I would say for you, a lot of it could potentially be if your quads are super tight. So if we think of quads being super tight, what happens is top of the quads, hip flexors travel across and into our lower back. So around L2, they're attached. The tighter this gets, the more it pulls, right? So that if you are standing, for example, if I'm standing like this for 8 hours, there's an awful pinch in my back. And then what happens is you go and sit in a chair, that is already there, and now you're over exaggerating, which is potentially what's happened yesterday, right? So to get past that, for someone like you, is you definitely want to be trying to stretch out your quads as well. Yeah, but I do think for you, it's a chicken and egg scenario where it is the quads are tight, but the glutes are weak. So you need to do both. And then it's that seesaw of like, as my glutes get stronger, my quads will get more comfortable lengthening. And then I find that healthy
Well,
balance.
that's the problem. Why is I be able to stretch this because I can't bend my knee.
Yeah. So very simply, if you have a bench at home, or if you're in a gym, you can decide how high you bring it, how low you bring it. So then what I teach is put it against the wall. And then what you would do is you bring your knee on it. And so for you, you might have some books and a pillow so you can create that angle. And then you bring the leg across, right? And then what you do is you focus on staying like this. You do that tucking of the pelvis that I said earlier. And then you find the level that you can get to where you feel it. So you don't have to bend the knee anymore. You've just got to find it. The only thing with you is you would definitely benefit by more someone pushing from behind.
Because I can't, but that's the center of my knee bend. That's it. Can't pass that. To give it that, pushing the hip forward. I'm struggling to stretch this.
But this is the question then that I would say is that the priority right now, or is it strengthening the glute? So strengthening the glute potentially could give you more access to that. And then it's this healthy relationship, like what I said earlier about when they start to work together, then naturally everything starts to move a bit more efficiently. So you saw that was quite simple, right? And you can see that would be something that you could potentially do either when you wake up. The other thing that I recommend is grab a golf ball or a lacrosse ball, put it beside your toothbrush, or if you're someone who drinks a lot of tea, put it beside the kettle. And every time you go to brush your teeth, put it on the ground and just roll the soles of your feet on it. Because we have so much tension in the soles of our feet as well. And then if we're somebody who works in an office or standing in boots, work boots or whatever, they're going to get quite rigid, and that's already like tightening everything else above.
So like I drawn for plantar fasciitis and have been caking it for years now.
Yeah. Do you wear insoles? No. Okay, so for you, like the best way you always have to think about it is that's the Band-Aid, which is okay, but eventually I have to rip the Band-Aid off because otherwise that's going to affect something else in my life, right?
I need to gone through PRP injection. I've done the whole kit and caboodle. As soon as I stop taking the medication, I can't sleep.
So again, like what we said yesterday about how to change a habit, it's the keep taking it, add something else to it. So maybe it's the every time I brush my teeth, I just put that on the ground and I just roll it out. It might be really sensitive to start, but eventually the goal that I give most people is you should be able to stand on the golf ball 1 foot. So if that's way intense right now, then if you think of how rigid your foot is for that, and then you're taking a step every day with that rigid foot. So it's just trying to get it to feel more comfortable. And then it's doing everything else as well. This is the problem. As human beings, we want the pain solution, but we don't factor in that it's the more the global thing that could be affecting that, right? So my elbow's sore. Okay, but how strong are your rotator cuffs in your shoulder? Oh, I've never checked that. So then all of a sudden it's like, yeah, so you're trying to pick something up from here as opposed to here, right? So yeah, any questions on that? We're good?
Thing, so it's not really would be effective.
Say again?
Walking on the sail.
100%. 100%. Yeah, beach walks I would highly recommend, especially if you find it intense on a golf ball.
Thank you guys so much.
All right, nice work. I have most of your email addresses, so I will be sending out just like that whole 28-day thing that you can do. It's free, so yeah, enjoy it.